This is us setting off on our trip in our truck. Quite a big road trip planned. We're very excited to get out and about. These are the two sisters just outside Smithers, and this was like our first place where we felt we were actually on our route and on our holiday. As you can see, we've got our rooftop tent out. Dogs are out. Settling into the new routine of being in a camp for the next wee while. Also, time for a swim. It's nice to get out in the lake, get in the water. Very inelegantly, as you can see. Although Alistair does a better job than me. There's something so very peaceful about this lake. It's the second time we've been here actually. It was our first stop on our previous holiday when we went further west rather than further north, which is where we're heading this time. Shoe-shaped house. We pass on the way to the lake. And today we hit the Stewart-Cassiar Highway road, and this was a camp spot we found. It was actually pouring down with rain and blowing a hoolie when we turned up, but we set up the tent and went inside and made some dinner and fed the dogs, and it actually brightened up, and wow, what a view we didn't know we had. And these two were having a wee play when it dried up and they could have some freedom. The dogs are a big part of our holiday, as you can see. It was a wet start for the morning, and so we just decided to just keep heading up the Stewart-Cassiar Highway and see what we could see. It had some sort of magical mist and we couldn't see all the mountains, but we still appreciated the views that we could see and the interesting bridges. This black bear that popped across the road in front of us. And we hit Jade City, which is famous for being on jade fever. Some very large pieces of jade. Quite amazing, really. This area, the Cassiar Mountains, produces 90% of the world's jade. even more amazing were these works of art with the jade, the sculptures, the paintings. It was just amazing to see. Smithers was our first stop, and then we went up this road here to Kitwanga, followed the 37 all the way up. And now we are here, just about to head into the Yukon, and we plan to go across here and down to Atlin. Just got our whole trip on the map. Making the Yukon border was quite something, and we were quite excited to reach a different province. We found a great wee camp spot for the night, a bit of a trek into it. You see Callum's very happy with his stick. We're by a river, which is just beautiful. And actually in the morning I saw a beaver swimming in the river, which was really nice to see. Popped the drone up this morning to have a look around at where we were a bit more. Look at the river. It's quite useful just to even see where you are. You see there's an old boat and old bits from the bridge that's no longer there. It surprised me actually, looking out, there was just so many trees, and it seemed like where we crossed the border into Yukon here, it was just forever trees. Absolutely amazing. Just so vast. Just gives that sense of so much space, and you know, we're just in this little corner by the river. Callan's excited to get running. He likes to have a run in the morning. So does Drishy there, and Bud, who's already passed us. They love a good run in the morning, so it's nice to give them a stretch of the legs before they're in the truck for a lot of the day. As you can see, it was quite wet and muddy here. So it was nice to get through this relatively easily. Another little muddy section here that we had to go through. Then it was on to the dry, and these boys, they run until they tell us they don't want to run anymore. So we let them take charge, they set the pace, and they'll tell us when they're ready to stop. And then they're usually so happy for the rest of the day because they really stretch their legs. What a stunning drive west we had, just unreal, the mountains coming out of the trees, that low-hanging mist. It was just something else, and I felt like I could have recorded the whole journey, but that could get a little dull for someone, I think. So I just tried to take short snippets of the mountains arriving out of the mist. Yeah, spectacular. And this was us arriving in Teslin, where we stopped for fuel and got some food for ourselves. It was beautiful coming down into the town here with the lake nearby. And across the bridge. Then the great excitement, because Atlin was really the destination we really wanted to go to. We'd seen it on some other people's YouTube videos, and in particular someone who'd interviewed and spoke with some of the townsfolk, and it just looked so beautiful. We just knew we wanted to come here, and weren't we lucky to get this lovely sunny day. This was us arriving in the afternoon. Our plan to stay the night nearby and come in and really enjoy the town for most of the day, the next day, or at least the morning. As you can see, these mountains are just beautiful. Atlin is the largest freshwater lake, I think. I think this was our least popular camp spot. It was just a little spot that we managed to pull into in the trees off the road and just stayed there the night. Excited to get back into Atlin today. This is me just making sure everyone's getting a good walk. What a way to start a day. There's hardly anyone there. It was just so peaceful. In fact, in a minute you'll see a bench, and we sat on the bench, and I got my sketchbook out and just tried sketching the mountains. There's the bench there. And Alistair, he did some writing. We just sat there, just taking it all in. It was beautiful. This is the view from the bench. And we had a seaplane come into land, which was cool. Once the local cafe was open, we headed up for a local coffee. And it was nice to see everyone congregating there for their morning coffee, and it was a really good coffee. And then we had a lovely walk around town, just enjoying the sights. And then we left town and headed to our next camp spot, which was beautiful. Especially, this is the next day, like when we were leaving. The view was just spectacular. And it was just really peaceful. A really nice spot. One of my favourites, I think. Been able to see the mountains, and it was just very calm and very peaceful. And yeah, as you can see, the young dogs enjoying their run out, burning that extra energy that they have. And we look up here and down the lake is Lake Atlin. So looking back towards Atlin and the mountains in the distance. This is back on the road again with more absolutely amazing views. Really just breathtaking, and we were really taken away by just how beautiful the landscape was at every turn, you know. Excited to hit the Yukon capital of Whitehorse today. I didn't film much of us getting into town or any of the town really, apart from the sort of history of the Klondike, and there was so much information that I'm not going to be able to share it with you in this short space of time, and it's definitely worth a visit, and it was a bucket list place for us, especially after watching the Ice Road Truckers, so we were very excited to get into town. But first we saw the desert. This is Carcross Desert, which is actually just the remains of an ancient lake with the glaciers in the area. You know, they created dams and then all the sand and silt from the glaciers just settled to the bottom. So this was a lake bed, and yeah, it was really bizarre to find all this sand out here. And then we ended up in Whitehorse, which we were really excited to see, the capital of Yukon. And here we have one of their famous paddle boats that used to come up the rivers with their supplies and, you know, anything they needed to move around. They were doing it with these paddle boats. And the one that I just showed you there was the Klondike. which was specifically built for going through the river. And here we are at Miles Canyon, where that paddle boat came through here. And they actually raised the levels here with a dam to make it easier for it to come through, but it's unbelievable, the rapids through here. We had quite a drive to get to this point, but Alistair had seen it on the maps, and this is where he wanted to stay, so we made it up to this radio tower, which is just, a higher elevation, which gave us quite a view even on a cloudy night. It was pretty windy, although we tucked in to a nice wee camp space, and it was just perfect for the night. And then this is us heading back down the hill in the morning. Even with this cloudy, overcast day, what amazing views to see the mountains in the distance as the young dogs get the extra walk, the extra run. Our next stop was Watson Lake to the Signpost Forest, which is quite a sort of famous tourist attraction in the area. So we had to go and take a look, and it came from when they were building the Alaska Highway, and there was a man there that was missing home, so he made a sign saying how many miles it was to his home, and a few of the other workers did the same, and then it's kind of expanded into this, which was so much to take in. So I've given you a little walk around, just kind of looking at signs. I'm not looking in detail, just to give you an idea of scale of how many. I can't even imagine how many signs are actually here. And you could have paused the video there and read that information if you wanted to. It just seems to go on and on. It was like this amazing, never-ending, it was like a feast for the eyes. You just didn't know where to look because there was just so much. Just, yeah, kind of out of this world. I don't even know how I felt about it, but it was just like, yeah, really weird to see so many signs in one place, and just, yeah, it was very unusual. Yeah, it was definitely worth kind of stopping off to have a look at it. This is us at our next stop, and we actually arrived at lunchtime, and we're just going to have lunch, but we were feeling pretty tired. We'd pushed quite a lot the day before to get to the radio tower, and yeah, we just decided let's stop for the day. And this is at Cassiar, at the old runway, and Cassiar was an asbestos mine that closed down in the 90s there. Those mountains just felt so powerful, and that is the spoil pile there behind the dogs, the grey bit. And we charged up our jackery and charged up ourselves and felt so much better the next day, ready for the next part of our adventure. Just amazing down here in Cassiar. Amazing to think there was an old town here, you know, with folk living here and making a living here, and then in the 90s it got shut down and they sold off all the houses and they got moved, or if not they got demolished, and there's a few people living down here but not really anyone anymore. And yeah, this is us taking our drive out on the runway. You can see it was kind of misty, drizzly, but I don't know, it didn't take away from the beauty. The weather didn't. Young dogs getting their run on the runway. Up there in front, that low-lying sort of hill is the, you know, the what do they call it, the pilings from the mine. So it's a man-made hill, which is quite incredible. It just looks really bizarre in the landscape. Although today in the mist it kind of fits in a bit better, but if you looked at the picture earlier, it was very grey. This is us just turned off towards Stewart. We changed our plans because of the weather, and it was definitely the right choice to make, because last year we came to Stewart, a lot of the top of these mountains were in clouds, so we never really saw the magnificence of these mountains as we drove in or out when we came. So it was just, what a drive in, absolutely beautiful. This is looking over at a glacier that's receding on the other side, as you can see. And we arrived at camp and took the dogs out for a walk, and these trees were just beautiful. Some real old ones in amongst them, and what a lovely walk, even though it was all uphill. It's the view from the awning. I'm just setting up camp now. Just surrounded by the mountains. Is this your favourite part, Dreesh? You swimming? Yeah, you swimming? Morning coffee time with our road trip, Atlin Coffee Roasters coffee. And that mountain's just beautiful this morning. And Callan helping with camp. And this is the mine that we parked near. And the beginning of our drive out. Steep slope and sun just coming over the mountains. Beautiful. Beautiful morning drive down to Stewart. These mountains, last time we couldn't see the top, so for the clouds. So it's nice to see it so clear. What I really like about Stewart is it's actually by the sea, so the estuary comes in, and being a West Coast Scottish girl, it's really nice to smell the sea again after living inland. So I really appreciated the walk that we did. You'll see in a minute, we did this board walk out onto the estuary and out towards the sea a bit, just all the wildlife, and it was just really peaceful. More spectacular views as we're leaving Stewart.
Oh my god, that's kinda cool.
And here we are back at our lakeside camp spot that we started at. I noticed when I was cleaning out the dog bowls that the fishies were coming over looking for bits of rice that the dog hadn't eaten and bits of dog food from the bowl. So I got the GoPro out and put it under the water, and it's really cool seeing all these little fishies. We got camp set up in the dry and went for a swim, and just as we were getting back from our swim it started to rain, and it didn't stop raining, and it got heavier and heavier all night, and then in the morning it did actually lift. So we're lucky that we managed to pack up in the dry, although things weren't dry, but we knew we were heading home anyway, and we were ready to just come home and relax again and not be doing so many miles. But it was 4,000 kilometers we did on this trip, and it was just something else. Amazing views, and no video can really show you what we saw, and mainly it's in our memories. I do hope you enjoyed our road trip to the Yukon and to Atlin.